Sicker Than Others is a podcast on the ups and downs of recovery. This podcast does not reflect the views or opinions of Beta Shuva or any of its subsidiary businesses or partners. Sicker Than Others neither speaks for AA or recovery as a whole, but you'll find some useful links below if you want to find out more. Sicker Than Others touches on subjects and situations that some listeners may find offensive or, if you're lucky, triggering. You have been warned.
Meth has been kind of like my number one go-to, the ways and means, but it's a lifestyle. Meth isn't just a drug. It's a whole lifestyle, okay?
Yeah.
So there's characters involved. There's dealers. There's cooks. There's tramps. You know what I mean? There's whole towns are like this.
Yeah.
Okay, like you know how you talked about Tahunga?
Yeah.
That's one of them.
I am super hyped to introduce my guest today. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, dude. I hit Steve this morning. Steve and I went to a memorial today because that's what happens when you get sober. People die. And you stick around long enough, you unfortunately meet people that pass away. And Steve and I were at a memorial today. And I hit him this morning, was like, Steve, you got to come on the show. So I'm really happy you're here. Steve, I don't know where to begin with Steve. So Steve was my roommate here and is now one of my closest friends. But the get down at Sicker Than Others is pretty simple. I just want to know what it was like, what happened, and what it was like now. And I kick it off. Tell us how this ride in recovery started.
So I was just like your every garden variety kid from the Valley. I grew up in a conservative, Jewish upbringing. My mom taught Kadima. So like as an example is, and when I went to, there was no daycare. So daycare was going with mom to school, basically. Mm-hmm. She taught kindergarten through 6 at CBK in West Hills. But back then it was called Canoga Park. And so I went to 2 schools, right? I went to grade school and then I went to Hebrew school. And so about 2nd grade comes up and I had already started having a little trauma going on in my life, at home, but just didn't really talk about it, I mean, there was corporal punishment in our house, and I got beat a lot, My mom is from that old school way of, Jewish mom, and she's like, that's how you love your kid with a stick. And anyways, so I would go to school sometimes missing a tooth, a black eye. It was no big deal, okay? Even back then, the principal would spank you. But there was a game we played on the playground called Socko, and for some reason, this kid took my position, and I felt like he punked me. You know what I mean? And I don't know where it came from, just inside me. And so I laid him out. You know what I mean? I laid him out on the playground. I tuned him up with just a 2-piece, and then the next thing you know, there's like a pool of blood. The yard duty teacher's blowing the whistle. I'm going to the principal's office to get spanked, and even worse, to call my mom. Okay? So then another episode is I had this fascination with matches, right? So my dad every restaurant he went to, he would collect the matches and put them in this old 70s like glass lamp, okay? And I would steal them, right? And I'd go to the nearest field and flick them. You know what I mean? And so there was a Catholic school on Sherman Way and Lake Mason, and I lit their like parking lot on fire. Okay, so the nun came out. She grabbed me by my ears and my buddy and took us home, and then I got beat again. You know what I mean? So I don't know what it is. I'm like that guy in the book, the jaywalker. I get a thrill out of adrenaline rushes. That's one of my get downs. Is like anything that can give me a rush like that, I'm all in. And so violence became a big factor in my life. And until I finally got someone looked after me, and they said, you know what, he needs more attention than other kids. So I ended up going to private school, did really well there. I stopped getting in fights. I became an athlete, right? That's been my whole life. Like if you give me a little nudge, like an attaboy, I will flourish, okay?
Yeah.
Without that, because I wasn't getting it from mom, and my dad was always working, Like I didn't get that. So if I had a coach that looked after me, I would just excel to the 10th degree, you know? And that became my whole thing. I had trophies, you know, most valuable athlete, from everything from football, baseball. And so that was my whole life for a long time. And then about 13, 14 years old, my parents divorced. And I'm not using that as a pole vault to my alcoholism, but it had a big effect on me, you know? And my brothers went to go live with my mom, and I went to go live with my dad.
Yeah, that's heavy, dude.
Yeah.
That must
And you
have been
know,
fucked up.
only coming to Beit Teshuvah, right, and realizing the dynamic. There's so many people have the same thing going on in their life where they had like their parents separated, right, and the way that they were, you know, married, you're not supposed to ever get divorced. You know, I mean, Jewish couples from back east don't get divorced. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so the next thing you know, I'm with dad. My dad's wanting my companionship and love so much because he doesn't have his family that he basically enabled me again to the 10th degree. I could do anything. I could smoke cigarettes in the house. I could drink as long as I stayed in the house. I can have my girlfriend over and lock the door. You know what I mean? So I became a latchkey kid. You know what I mean? He's always at work. He would pay me just to go to high school, you know? I mean, $20 is a lot of money in 1983, you know?
Yeah.
And he would pay me, and I would just like go to the first two classes so I don't get, you know, they don't call you. It's called home group, and then I would bounce and usually go to the gym or like go to the mall or something. That's the other thing, is that I made a deal with my parents. I said, look, I'll stop running away, because I was a runaway. I would hop out my window, like 15 years old, and I'd lock the door from the inside, and I would bounce and meet up with my buddies. We'd go to Stony Point in Chatsworth, you know, and drink beers and smoke some weed, whatever. So I made a deal. Look, if you get me this gym membership, okay, I won't run away no more, and I'll go back to school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for the most part, that worked for a while. You know what I mean? It worked for a while. I had the gym.
I mean, you were gaming, dude. You're gaming the system, right? You knew that you could get
Absolutely
from your dad what you needed,
Absolutely.
right?
And that happened to the day he died. That I was already 35 years old, and he would tell me, "Look, Steve, I can't carry you anymore. I got gray hairs on my balls." Okay, and so, but my dad never turned his back on me. He never said no. I would hear my mom in the background going, leave him alone. Don't, just let him bottom out. You know, my dad would just come to my rescue every time. What's even crazier is my parents got remarried.
Crazy.
That's crazy, huh? But it happens. And I was the best man at the wedding. I think I was like 21 or 22. And we tried to have some reunification, but I was already an alcoholic.
Yeah.
You know, at that point. My little brothers are still at Canoga High School finishing up. They're valedictorians. You know what I mean? They're super smart kids. And I'm just Steve. You know what I mean? I'm just Steve, the black sheep, you know, driving my little Camaro around town, you know, just doing buds and suds, partying. You know, I can usually hold down a good job, but I always lost my jobs. I would work like 3-6 months at some warehouse in Chatsworth. And the jobs were so easy to get back then. I could just go to another place the next day and get another job. You know? So let's keep moving forward. So at about 18, I started using cocaine. And so we found cocaine finally. Everyone's doing it, and I'm not talking about the stuff like today. I'm talking about like Scarface, you know,
Rocket
cocaine.
fuel.
Yeah, it had like little fish scales on it,
Yeah.
and it was almost pure. And it was like the greatest thing that ever happened to me, you know? When I really got accustomed and used to like the high that you get from cocaine when you snort it, I became a monster. So I would snort up to an ounce, you know what I mean, by myself. And I didn't like sharing, you know what I mean?
No.
And really, it's really hard to be with like a female when you're really high on coke, too.
Oh, so don't I know it?
So I found a lot of isolation in that, where I would use cocaine and be by myself, just snorting for days.
Yep.
Then I found the magic recipe on how to cook it myself.
Ooh, a little cookery class.
A little cookery class. And so a little baking soda, some water, an old salt shaker, glass salt shaker, you know, and then a big bucket bowl of ice to like rock it up. And the next thing you know, I'm like a rocket man, you know?
Yeah.
I'm making big boulders of crack. And these are the ones that, you get a bell ringer every time. And so I was a crackhead. I was a crackhead from about 22 to about 25 years old. And so my alcoholism, my cocaine addiction had taken a toll on me, and my family did an intervention on me. And I ended up at this place called Harris Springs Ranch in Las Vegas. Back then it was called the 28-day dry out program. And you could, it was really popular. Okay. It's like after the Chic days and after you had a 28 days program and you were good after that.
Oh, yeah. Fine.
Yeah. So I went there, and lo and behold, in detox, I met my first wife,
Oh.
Yeah. And that just seemed to be my story all the time, I just like to dig more bottoms. So I ended up getting with this girl. She's from Montana. And she was like a barfly cocktail waitress in Las Vegas, and she was just happened to be going to detox too.
Ooh.
And then she's like, "Where are you going after this?" And I go, "I'm going to a treatment center on Mount Charleston." She goes, "Oh, I want to go too." You know what I mean? So
You're like, pack up your bag, baby.
we were there together.
Yeah.
After the treatment's over, she says, "Steve, where are you going to go? You going back to L.A.?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm thinking about staying in Vegas and living with my brother. He goes to UNLV, and just getting away from the valley for a while."
Yeah.
And so I did. Okay. So that's when I finally got involved in AA. They had an AA clubhouse that was close to, we lived on Las Vegas Boulevard and Sahara.
The recovery in Vegas is really good.
Really good.
Yeah, I've gone to a ton of meetings out there.
They love AA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those little meeting rooms that are in strip malls.
Yes.
But like,
That's
I've been in
where I
there and
was.
you have like 20, 30, 40 years of recovery in every meeting you go
Absolutely.
to. It's really strong,
And
which
they're-
makes sense.
And
Right.
they go 24 hours at a
Yeah.
time. So you can never
Yeah.
not get a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I think because the culture there, I mean, Vegas is one of the few things where places where I don't know now, but you could, someone once told me you could valet park for a living and send your kids to private school. I mean, it really is a 24-hour town. So you really can go to a meeting at 3 a.m.
Absolutely.
and it be full,
Absolutely.
which is crazy. I've been to some great meetings in Vegas,
Great
man.
meetings in Vegas.
Yeah.
Strong AA. So I ended up staying in Vegas, and me and Cheryl did our thing, I relapsed after about a year, and then she says, "Hey, let's go to Montana. Let's do a geographic." and
Did
get
she
out of here."
relapse as well?
She relapsed as
Okay.
well. She relapsed, and then I relapsed, and then our great plan and design was to go to Wilsall, Montana. Okay?
Okay.
It's like a cowboy town.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
The bank and the bar are the same thing. Okay? There's 50 people that live in this town.
Oh my God.
They're all ranchers, okay? And back then I had really long hair, and I was just like this stoner kid from the valley. And when I got there, I was in culture shock, okay? It was the craziest thing. We ended up living in a 1890 schoolhouse converted into a house,
That's
a
dope.
real schoolroom
Wow.
that they used for all the kids in the area back in the late 1800s.
Was there any meetings out there though?
One.
One meeting.
And it was in Livingston. You have to drive 100 miles to get to the meeting.
Whoa.
So we did it. We even tried. You know
Oh,
what I
wow.
mean? And we made it out there. But I ended up getting drunk in a blackout and actually marrying her. Okay. Yeah, that was another one. So I wake up and the next thing you know, I go, "What happened last night?" She says, "You don't remember? We went downtown to the judge and everything. We got married."
Whoa.
So I got on the phone with my little brother Jeff and I said, "Look, you got to get me out of here." You know what I mean? I don't know what I get myself into. And he said, "Look, Steve, you got to get yourself out of this one. I can't help you out." So I just decided to take the guy's field truck that I worked for and my dog and pack up, right? I cashed my last check at the bank bar, got me a bottle of Bacardi, right? And just drove all the way, okay,
Back to the valley.
back to the valley
So good.
in a blizzard.
In someone else's car.
Yeah. I had to ditch the car halfway home and just get on a Greyhound, So I get to San Fernando with the Greyhound, which I know very well, and my dad says, "Hey, you can go anywhere you want, Steve. I'll drop you off, but you can't come home." You know, and I'm 25 years old, and I'm just going through it. I made a deal with him. You know, I'm good at deals with my dad. I said, "Look, I promise you I'll never drink again if you let me come to Palm Springs with you and just live with you for a couple days. It's my birthday." You know what I mean? I'm going to be 25 in a couple days. And he said, "Let me talk to your mother." You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, I got the green light. I'm back in the saddle with Dad, my mom, and me living in this little apartment in off of Palm Canyon, right? In Palm Springs. My dad had moved his business in the early 90s to Palm Springs. You know, he's an accountant. And so he went all the way from Ventura Boulevard. He got out of the valley, too. I don't know what was going on. A lot of people were leaving the valley back then. So what happened is Cheryl followed me, and she showed up in Palm Springs, okay? And she wasn't done with me. You know what I mean? So I got sober. I had a home group called the Cornfield Group, right? I got really involved in AA. I was a big fish in a small pond because Palm Springs is a small town, you know, and I was kind of a big guy, and I had a big mouth, and I had a big presence, and I was able to flourish there, you know.
Were you bodybuilding at this time?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. When I met Cheryl, at one time I was the doorman at Cheetahs, right, in Vegas.
Oh, the strip club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all nude strip club, you know.
Yeah.
And so
The fun fact: the Cheetahs in Atlanta, you can get like a gourmet meal at the Cheetahs in Atlanta.
oh yeah,
Yeah, like I think I had like the best.
they have
fried-
buffets every day.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like a lap dance and steak. It was pretty incredible.
So anyways, we end up where are we at? I'm in I'm back in the valley, Palm Springs
Springs.
now. So Palm Springs, I do really well. I'm like got 3 years sober. My brother says, "Hey, you want to come back to the valley and develop this medical supply business with me? I'm doing great, and I could afford you now." And I was like, "Absolutely." It was like I had arrived because I finally got that trust back from my brother, and from my dad, and from everyone that really meant anything to me, you know. And they wanted me to be a part of something with the family, and I was like, "Absolutely." So I left my little nest in Palm Springs and made it back to the valley. Okay. Now, looking back, right, that was a life decision that I made, a choice. Okay. In the beginning, it was great, but I had left all the normal stuff that was keeping me sober, all the GSR stuff and all the, you know, the panels that I did and all the sponsoring guys I did in the Palm Springs area. I had left that behind. So when I got to the valley at 3 years sober, it was all about let's work, make money, and
Yeah.
let's just move up.
But the recovery in the valley is really good too. So
It was. Yeah, it still is.
But you were just too busy with work.
No. I was still going to meetings, but it wasn't the same.
Same,
It
yeah.
would just never. The magic that happened to me in Palm Springs to this day is just starting to happen for me again right here in West LA. Like I was in the book with guys. I was taking like on my Christmas and New Year's. I was spending time with guys in detox, you know, doing step work with them and stuff like that. And so AA had become the only way that I knew how, you know. And I lost some of that when I moved to the valley. I had lost some of it, but yeah, great meetings in the valley. My get down was Commercial Lane in Woodland Hills, right, and then Dumet's. It's like a church at the top of Canoga in Ventura. You know, West Valley AA is probably like
It's great.
it's great.
It's great.
It's great.
And NA too. There's a lot of really great. I go to this little NA meeting in Tahunga. That's
I know where it's at. It's in the park.
Yeah.
I love
tiny.
that.
It's so great.
Yeah.
And a lot of those messages in recovery, the bikers go there, which I think is really
Absolutely.
cool.
The messengers from Chatsworth.
Yeah.
Yep. In fact, the road captain, Craig Pylant, he used to go out with my sister.
Oh, he did?
We ended up burying up in the Chatsworth, graveyard up there on top of Lassen. But anyways,
So tell me about when you discovered crystal meth, because this is a great story.
okay. So I was working in the phone room,
Yep.
selling tools, and I was still using periodically when I binge. I was still using cocaine and like alcohol, right? And then all of a sudden, I've seen this guy. I was training him to close deals. And the next thing you know, I came to work and he had 13 deals he closed. And his lips and his jaw was like talking like this to the side. And he had created a whole character for himself, right? And I was like, where did you learn that? I didn't teach you that. And he goes, at lunchtime, let's go to Carl's Jr. I'm gonna show you what I'm working with. I was like, all right, let's go. So I get in the car and he opens up his hand. He's all, you see those? And I go, yeah, it looks like a bunch of broken glass. And he goes, put it in your hand and I want you to lick it, you know? So I licked it, okay? The next thing you know, we went back to work and I sat and stared at my phone for 3 hours. You know what I mean? I couldn't even budge. I was stuck.
Yeah.
That's how high I was, you know?
Back in the day when meth was
It
different type of meth.
pulverized me. I had never been that high, you know? Funny thing is, that night, I called him up and said, look, on your way in, bring me a 20 of that, you know? And I'd never forget, every morning at work, I would rack up a big rat's tail of meth. And I'm talking about the greasy, oily stuff, you know, that smells like cat piss, you know? And I would rack one up, and then I turned my metal desk, you know, the file drawer, I turned it into like a little fridge. It had ice in it. I had Mickey Big Mouse right there, and I would just like do racks and drink at my desk. It was crazy. And I worked for a guy on the program.
No.
Yeah. And I was killing it. I mean, I was killing it. Meth got a hold of me, and I was making $1,800 cash a week, and I would have a limo come pick me up so I'd go cash my check. Listen to this. By Monday morning, I'm bumming a hot dog off the hot dog truck and asking him, hey, man, can you load me $20? And I need a pack of Marlboro box. It was horrific, you know.
It's wild.
Once I got a hold of the meth, though, it got a hold of me so bad, it changed the pattern in my brain chemistry to where even to this day, like if I have any meth in my system, it's a wrap, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like that shark Bruce, you know, in Finding Nemo. You know what I mean? He gets a little snort of blood, and the next thing you know, he's off to the races. That's me. And that's happened many times. I've had quality sobriety, and the next thing you know, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a little line, and I was off to the races, back to prison, the whole nine. So meth has been kind of like my number one go-to, the ways and means, but it's a lifestyle. Meth isn't just a drug, it's a whole lifestyle, okay?
Yeah.
So there's characters involved, there's dealers, there's cooks, there's tramps, you know what I mean? There's like, it's a whole towns are like this.
Yeah.
Okay, like you know how you talked about Tahunga?
Yeah.
That's one of them, all right? Even the Jack in the Box drive-through guy is high on meth. You know what I mean? And so that's also one of my favorite spots is Tahunga. We call it T-Town. I love it. But that obsession became the great obsession of my mind. And the way what it did to my mind and my body, it took me back to prison like 5-6 times.
Yeah.
So by the time I finally realized that my life was, you know, over, my daughter was already out of high school.
Yeah.
My son was getting ready to go into high school, and I missed out. Like when you're supposed to be a dad, go to their fucking graduation, you know, when they go to first day of school, they're supposed to do all this stuff. And I'm fucking on the prison yard acting like a fucking teenager, you know, trying to be Mr. Popular.
And I think we really bonded as well because when we met each other when I was here, you had told me that my daughter Stella was at the same age that you went to prison.
Yep.
Right. And I remember that being like a huge wake up call for me to be like, oh, that's what's, if I don't start to get this, well, how you told me how that happens and how you had to leave your daughter and your family to go, that really hit me hard. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can imagine what that was like.
Yeah. I saw the same pain that you had in your eyes that for not being with Stella.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when you're just guys like us that were real lovers, you know, not really fighters, but like we're a big presence, and you take away the one thing in life that means everything to us, it crushes you.
Yeah.
There's no words for it. It just devours your soul.
Yeah.
And she still calls me and texts me, but like to this very day, I haven't seen her yet, you know, and I've been sober almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And she's sober. Now she's going to fellowship hall in Palm Springs. That's crazy, you know. And my son's sober too. That's another whole story, you know.
Yeah.
I was with Chris, and she sponsored Lisa. And then when I broke up with Chris, I got with Lisa and had Seth. It's like a Jerry Springer show. So, but I got two beautiful kids.
Yeah.
You know, they're already grown, doing their
Yeah.
thing. So right now I'm putting together my life, you know, life without meth, life without, you know, being an active gang member. That's for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah, man, you show up, dude. You show up. I can't imagine what it must have, because it's funny because like the first time I met you, so it's funny. I just had I had this bad luck run of roommates, right? I had one guy that fucking I think it was like after 2 weeks of me being here, he got kicked out, and then I had this my friend Jake, and he had an issue, and it was like, and then I had this bad run of roommates, right? And I'm just trying to get my shit together, and I go down to the PF's office, and one of the PFs is of tech here. One of the techs goes to me, "Hey, you got a new guy? He's straight from Folsom." And I'm like, "What's Folsom?" Right? I'm like the last guy that gets any of that. And I walk into my room, and Steve is topless with all his tattoos out, and I'm like, "Hell yeah!" And it was great, dude. I think you saved me here. I think you fucking saved me. It was great. It was a really great. Steve and I, you know, when you're getting sober in places like this, it's the healing comes. I really think about this a lot. I thought about this a lot at Shabbat this Friday, and I think about this like how to tell other people going through this. But I have a really strong opinion on this stuff. This is kind of long-winded, but let me get it out. Like, programming in any treatment center is just the fucking programming, right? It's the shit you do during the day. I don't necessarily think it's the stuff that makes you better. What makes you better is the healing in the downtime. It's those weekends where there's not much to do. It's the evenings when you have to sit with your thoughts. And I just remember we would just watch UFO documentaries, Bigfoot, and it was just this common bond of two guys that are totally fucked.
yeah,
Right? We're just two dudes that are just fucked. And we have nowhere to run, nowhere to go, and we're stuck with each other, and like we make the best of it.
Absolutely.
It was fucking great, dude. It was
was.
like the thing that like really. Plus, you never wanted to be in a room with me and Steve because the two of us, we snort and sleep talk. So not only are you not going to sleep, you're also getting conversations as well. It was
full conversations. I don't even know who I'm talking to. I started doing it again with my new roommate. It's crazy. He has to suffer through all that. But yeah, I just that's a whole nother thing I'm fascinated with. You know, I'm super open minded about certain things, and you know, I have my own personal take on what the moon is. You know, and
I know what you're
all the little different species of aliens that
Yeah.
live here on Earth. You know, I'm really up to speed on all that. But like, I found somebody in Seb that's the same way.
yeah.
And he listens to podcasts with all the good information, right? The newest stuff that's out there. And so he would tell me or send me a picture of like some UFO coming up out of the water in Malibu or something. I'd be like, hell yeah.
But that's it. Like when we get sober, we can like. It's great to have a common interest. I know people are like, "Why are you guys talking about UFOs?" But it was like like when we would watch UFO docs and we'd send it. It was like the first time I was like, "Oh, I'm getting better," and oh, I actually like this shit. Like when you first get sober, the way you know. Or for you, it was like when you left prison and you came here. Like I didn't know what I liked. It took me months to even get any close. That's why I'm such a big component of long-term treatment, because I think you don't even know. Fuck identifying a feeling after 30, 60, 90 days. I could even tell you what I was feeling until month 4 or 5. Like in the slightest. And it was great to like have bonds and fucking figure out that what I like. 'Cause, you know, I didn't even know how to tie my shoes. Like I was that fucked up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think as well, like you work in treatment now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started out here.
And you still have a strong program because
Yeah. I still got commitments. I sponsor some guys from here. I got a couple guys that call me sponsor, but they don't really do anything.
yeah, I got a few of those too.
But I got two guys that are really into the work, and I met them both here. One of them works here.
That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my main thing is that, you know, when I wrote Carrie that letter,
Yeah.
and I was in Wayside, and she came to visit me like 2 days later after I wrote her. That was a God shot to me. You know what I mean? And when she came to visit me, she had a file on me. Okay. I just want to read this to you and let you know what a fucking asshole you are. That's what she, before we could even get going, that's what she said to me. I was like, I said that and I did that. She's all, yep. All the way back from 2008 when Rabbi Mark was my spiritual advisor, you know? And, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Carrie. She's amazing.
They took me back. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They took me back. I got it. You know, I was a hothead back then. I got into it with this kid, and his parents were big donors, you know?
Oh, the first time you were here.
Yeah. And I had to go tune him up upstairs. You know, we did, the men did a whole group at night,
What year was this?
2008. And you do a whole group. Everyone meets in this is all different, but it's called, where'd I miss the mark, or
10 after 10.
is it 10 after 10? Yeah. And all the men are in one group, right? And this guy kept getting at me, and I'm like, dude, stop. And then I said, all right, you're going to make me do this in front of everybody. I said, after this is all over, let's go upstairs and handle it. And, you know, he didn't know. You know what I mean?
He didn't know what he was doing.
He didn't know. And back then I was fresh out of Chino. You know, I had come almost directly from Chino to Beit Teshuvah. My brother heard Rabbi Mark speak at his temple, and he was trying to pull money from the members, you know. My brother made a donation to his cause, bought his book, and, like, was really moved by Rabbi Mark, you know. And so, yeah, he told me about this place, and so I came here.
Yeah, I had just one interaction with Rabbi Mark the eve before my first birthday, my first sober birthday. I got connected to him and Harriet, and I drove out to Palm Springs, and he gave me just they were like, why we, you know, they had no idea who it was, right? You remember I was telling you about this. And I went because I just wanted to see the people that I had been trying to get sober for so long. And I remember, you know, Lisa and I often talk about this. Lisa, who works in intake, we talked about how she said, do you remember how you said this wasn't going to work? I was so dead set that this wasn't going to work. I was like, I'm going to do it, but it's not going to work. Nothing's ever going to work for me. So I wanted to meet the people that built this, and I went there on my own accord. I reached out, you know, myself and everything, and set it up. And he said something really interesting to me. He goes, year one was just getting sober. Year one was getting physically off the shit, right? It's removing the shit from me, right? But year two was about figuring out what man I want to be. Who do I want to be? And I remember being like, that was such solid advice, because the problem is I got, the good news is I got my old self back, but the problem was I got my old self back. And so I really spent a lot of time on what man did I want to be, and I decided, and I think I'm going to take 2 years in a month, and I want to talk to new people about this, because for me, I spent a lot of time this year deciding that I wanted to be, there's a reason why I come here a lot, and there's a reason why I help people, because that's the person I want to be today. I want to be someone that's dependable, reliable. There's 100 people out there, and if any of them needed anything from me, they could 100% count on me. You need a vape, or you need, don't spread that out too loud and far, but like the reality is I would give anyone anything they needed if it's going to help them in this journey, you know. And I really had to think about that, because that's the type of sober person I want to be, right? Yes, super thought-provoking for me, because a lot of times when we get sober, we just talk about like getting through the steps, or just getting, you know, abstinent, or just like even just landing. But no one really talked to me about who I wanted to be now I got sober, you know. And it was really great to spend some time with Rabbi Mark, and he was really drilling me down to like, you need to define who that person is you want to be. I was really, really thankful for that, and he gave me a stack of his books. I felt really embarrassed. He was like, did you read my books? And I was like, I got the choice now to lie to the rabbi and say yes, or I could say, no, I haven't read them. And he looked so disappointed when I said I hadn't read them. I felt like such an asshole. But it was a beautiful, touching, full moment. So I want to talk about what we did today, because I think that's important. I think that's important.
Okay.
So Steve and I, we before I got my own apartment, before I left the care of Beit Shuva, and we went to a sober living, right?
Yeah.
And we had a roommate called Mason.
Yeah.
Young kid, 20, I think it's 27,
Yeah,
28.
he's like 28.
Yeah.
27, 28.
And he died like last week, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's we weren't necessarily close with him, but it doesn't. The scary thing about all this is it gets easier. That's what I don't like. It gets easier when I've realised when people die. And I want to show up to their memorial. So we went to a memorial today, and we were talking about it. It was, we met his parents, and here's a kid too that this is the other thing as well. Like, I liked what Charlie said today, which was like, it's always the people you don't expect or the people you like that are the ones that usually are the ones that I hate to say it, but die. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the ones that you are like not fond of. It's always the really heartfelt, warm people. And this kid was really warm. And honestly, I've been thinking about it a lot today because it was like we lived with this guy in a room, and I didn't know how much pain he was in.
He masked it really well.
Right?
I could see a little of it,
Yeah.
now that I look back when he would camp out in the living room, and he was talking about how he had made a big hit, because he's a salesman.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, he's like saying, "I'm moving out."
Yeah.
And I'm like, just like that? I go, "Come on, you're not that well. You're not ready. You're not ready to move out yet. Come on." And he goes, "No, I got a little place with somebody." Or he said, "No, first I'm going to Colorado. Then I'm coming back, and I'm going to move into my own place." And Andrew is like, and him are really tight. We would talk about that. I'd be like, "How's Andrew doing?" He goes, "Oh, he's doing good. I saw him at work today." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Andrew showered that dude.
Yeah.
He loved him to death. You know what I mean? And that was a trip today, man. Seeing his parents,
Yeah.
and then doing the sound bath and looking in her eyes, really deep like that. And it's almost like looking into Mason's eyes, huh? There's like
Yeah.
really crystal blue.
And in a weird way, there was this. We talked about it. It was. I mean, he had. It's funny because I don't really want to talk about him like he's not here, but I think it's also important. And I have lived with him in sober livings before I came here too, so he definitely saw me at my worst. In a weird way, his parents seemed relieved. I couldn't really. They were so.
I felt that too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his mum was so beautiful. His dad was so articulate, but they weren't. We were way heavier than they were.
Yeah.
They were really loving. It was just an interesting thing. I mean, these memorials, they suck, man. They say in AA you need to buy a suit because you're going to start going to funerals, and that is the truth. But hey, as we come to the end of the show, I'll ask every guest this: what would you tell little Steve today?
What would I tell little Steve today? I guess I would tell him that, everything's going to be okay no matter what, It might not seem like it right now, but things are going to turn out for you. Everything's going to be okay, 'Cause I was really fucked up as a little kid. I got fucked up a lot, And I had stuffed all that stuff down, I'm just now, like you talk about, I'm just now figuring out who I am, on an emotional level. You know what I mean? I've had a face up, a mask on my face for decades.
Yeah.
Bro. You know what I mean? And I know that there's a lot of pain that little kid still carries around, but I'm fucking tough as hell too. That's why I'm still here.